Hey, it's such a pleasure to welcome Catherine and Vineeta this morning, as well as a special welcome to the global leaders and the fellows. Catherine, Vineeta, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So everyone, welcome, welcome. We are delighted to have you join us here for Authentic Networking as a pre-forum session for the Wild Network Forum. And we'll be introducing ourselves in a moment, but we would like for you all to go ahead and introduce yourselves. So if you in the chat could post your name, your pronouns if you would like to share those, your organization, and your LinkedIn link. And that will facilitate us getting to know each other and networking, which is what we're here to talk about. So again, as you're entering the room, please go ahead and enter in the chat your name, your pronouns, your organization, and your LinkedIn link. And then Vineeta and I will be delighted to introduce ourselves. So again, welcome everyone. My name is Katherine Turner. My pronouns are she, Ellen, Aya, and I'm founder and president of Global Citizen LLC. We're a strategic, equity-centered consulting, coaching, training, and transformation firm. We're based in North Carolina in the US. We work across the United States and globally for a better world. And we collaborate with leaders who work in all sectors, again, across the US and internationally. And we develop effective, inclusive leadership skills with leadership development, leadership coaching, and organizational transformation work in which we partner with leaders to align vision, mission, values, policies, strategies, and culture so that organizations can operate in alignment for strategic social impact for a better world. And I'm also an adjunct professor at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill in the Gilling School of Global Public Health, where I'm delighted to mentor students and teach students on leadership, global health equity, a variety of global health topics, and systems and design thinking, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and sexual reproductive health and rights. Now I'll turn things over to my colleague, Vineeta.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vineeta Gupta, and I'm based in Washington, D.C. My pronunciation is, I'm pronounced she and her. And not taking too much of your time, I'll post my LinkedIn link also in the chat. I support leaders and organizations navigating through challenges and transitions towards growth and impact. And I'm really excited to be here with so many of you. Thank you for generosity of your time to share our learnings through how we network. So thank you so much. And back to you, Catherine.
Wonderful. So I'm seeing that a lot of you are already very active in Whova, and we're excited to see your questions. We've answered some of them, and we'll be talking about more of them as we go along. So first, we want to set some group agreements, and these are agreements that we put in place so that we can create a container for this conversation of mutual respect and where everyone's able to participate fully and authentically. So if you would like to read through this list of group agreements, please raise your hand and let us know if there are any group agreements that you're not sure what we mean by them and you would like for us to explain or lift up for a brief conversation. So again, go ahead and read through the group agreements. And at the end, I'll ask you if you can give us a thumbs up or other positive emoji to let us know that you agree with them. We'll just give you a moment to read through them. And one that I want to point out among the others is that in addition to having compassion for ourselves and each other, agreeing to disagree respectfully, to understand that we can accept discomfort as catalytic to growth, and we'll talk a little more about that later, but also that we are respecting gender as a continuum. So when we talk about women leaders, we're talking about people who identify as women regardless of the sex they were assigned at birth. And we're using women in this expansive, non-binary continuum context. So if everyone can let us know if you agree to hold ourselves to all of these group agreements, give us a thumbs up or other emote positive emoji, and let us know that we are all on board to have positive conversation. All right, thank you all for that. Great. All right, so our agenda for today is we've got our welcome, introductions, and context setting. Again, those of you who are just joined us, feel free to put your name, pronouns, organization, and LinkedIn link in the chat so that we can get to know you. We'll be doing a poll in a minute of what authentic means to you and the biggest barriers that you experience to networking, and we'll be referencing those throughout the presentation. Then we'll be explaining about authentic networking. Vineeta will take us through how we transition from context to community. We'll be addressing imposter syndrome and then really helping provide some tangible tools and tips for preparing for networking and follow-up. And we'll be having some discussion in the breakout groups. And we'll end with commitments and action steps. So as we're going through the presentation, we want you to be really thinking about what are some tangible action steps that you can take that following this presentation to put what we've learned into action. Now, we have also provided you with a worksheet, which should be in the chat. And Vineeta, we may need to upload it a second time for people who joined later. So Vineeta will be putting a link to the Google Doc where you can go ahead into Google and download it. And then you can be working in the worksheet as we go along. And she's also going to be uploading a PDF version if you want the PDF version to download. But if you click on the Google Doc and download that, then you'll be able to download it for yourself and go ahead and fill it out as we go along. We won't finish it today, but you can take that worksheet then and continue completing it as we go along. Let us know if you have any questions or difficulty with that. All right, so we're going to be doing a poll, and we're doing it in Poll Everywhere. So you have 3 different ways that you can access the Poll Everywhere. One is that you can scan the QR code that you see on the screen with your phone camera, and that will pull up the Poll Everywhere, and you can enter your response. Or you can send a text message with Katherine TUR 741 and your response to the poll, and you text that to 22333. Or a third option is that you can visit pollev.com/Katherine TUR 741 and follow the prompts. So 3 different ways you can do that. And the question is, what does authentic mean to you? And so we want to hear your definition, your thoughts, your reactions to the word authentic. And if you can give that to us in 1 word or phrase, and then we'll show our word cloud of how you all are responding. So just want to leave this up for a moment more to give you all an opportunity to access the Poll Everywhere. And then I'm going to switch over. I'm just going to drop this in the chat so that you have those instructions. Okay, so that's in the chat. And we're going to switch over to the Poll Everywhere. All right, we've got a beautiful word cloud that's forming. Okay, so you all should see the word cloud forming as you're adding your words and phrases of what authentic means to you. And we're seeing here genuine is how the most people have responded. And then we've got real and true and honest and self. In case some of you are joining by phone and aren't able to see the screen really well, I will just read out some of our top responses. So again, now true has taken over from genuine. So true, genuine, honest, self, real, and just some other words to highlight liberty, which is super interesting, and hiding, fearless, personal, truthful, autonomy. I'm super interested in these words around liberty and autonomy, unfiltered, show, non-transactional. We're going to be talking a lot about that today. All right, great. Thank you all so much for your responses. Now we're going to go on to the second question. And in the second question, we'd like for you all to answer, what are your biggest barriers to authentic networking in a professional setting? What are your biggest barriers to authentic networking in a professional setting? Again, in one word or phrase. So follow the same process. I know folks are joining as we go along. So we can add this to the chat. Okay. Again, just to make sure folks have access to the poll everywhere. All right. And I'll switch back over to poll everywhere so we can see your beautiful word cloud. Are you all having difficulty accessing the second question?
Yeah, I think it keeps showing the previous one. That's what I'm getting.
Ah. Okay. And it's the same. Okay. All right. Not sure what's happening.
I think it might not be live yet, Catherine, but
Yeah.
try people dropping it in the chat and I can read them out as we're going along.
There we go. That's what I was just going to propose, that we go ahead and just do this in the chat. So if you all can post in the chat, what are your biggest barriers to authentic networking in professional settings? Let us know that in the chat. All right. Yeah, jargon, location. Oh, inaccessibility as a neurodivergent person. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Lack of synergy, imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, approaching people. It can feel intimidating to approach people. Thank you all. Keep uploading in the chat. What are the biggest barriers that you experience to authentic networking? Arava, if rehearsed, that's interesting. I'm wondering if you mean it feels rehearsed or that you're feeling the need to be rehearsed or something else. The politics. Yeah, and clarity. We're going to talk about that for sure. Making sure we're clear about the purpose. All right, great. Thank you so much. Keep uploading those in the chat. What are your biggest barriers to authentic networking? Because we're going to be referencing these as we go along. All right, so we wanted to describe a little bit about authentic networking. Some of you wrote in Huva a question about what is authentic networking. So when you're authentically networking, you're showing up as your true self, not who you think others are, not who you think you're supposed to be or how you're supposed to act or supposed to look, but really who you really are. And being curious, kind, respectful, and we're showing interest in others. Sometimes it can be easy when we're engaging in networking because we feel self-conscious to focus on ourselves, but it's so important to really show your interest in other people through your facial expressions, through your body language, through your questions. And that our purpose is really that we want to listen actively, to learn and relate, and we're not listening to formulate our response, which is what often happens when we're listening, is that we're already thinking about what do I say or what do I want to say next, instead of really taking in and actively listening with our whole bodies. And we're building genuine, lasting relationships. So we're not just focusing on the transaction, but about how can I really deeply connect with this person and get to know them as a person, and for us to form a meaningful connection. So less, hi, can you give me a job? Or hi, I'm looking for an internship. And more about them, the other person. I admire you and your organization's work. I'd love to learn more about the impact you're making and learn about your leadership journey and hear your recommendations for mine. So really focus on that connection and that deep knowing of other people. So that's how we think about authentic networking. And now I'm going to turn things over to Vineeta to talk about from context to community.
Thank you, Kathleen, and thank you everybody again for being here. So, somebody mentioned, and a lot of good comments came in the chat box, and I want to focus on overall theme, like rehearsed, it looks artificial, right? And step back and think, why does it appear to us that it's artificial or it seems like rehearsed? Because it is what we have been listening from right from the beginning, early on in the career. I know when I moved from India to US in 2001, and I had traveled a lot before then, and it was interesting. So I thought I'd go to the different workshops and barter, like do some workshops and listen to what other people are talking about. And I would show up in these networking workshops, right? And it's nothing new. It's so interesting. 25 years since my personal experience that we have been talking about how to do networking well. And I'll sit through the workshops and people would say, sound authentic, sound real, sound you are interested in somebody. Okay, so there's a difference in being actually interested in somebody and sounding interested. Yeah, that's where the rehearsal sort of word comes, because we've internalized that we do approach with a transactional sort of angle, but we want to be building authentic relationships. So the tension is real from what we have learned and what we end up doing. And we'll go through some of this during our conversation and hopefully interactively as well. And I welcome you to share your thoughts in the chat as we go through this. So the first slide, from context to community. So what's the difference in context? I have 10,000 contacts in my address book, right? Yes, I can tap into them, but community is where it's there. If I don't talk to them, or I'm not reaching out to, they're going to think, oh, what's up? Hey, are you okay? So that's the difference between contacts and community. The community looks after you, even though you're not reaching out to them. And the same you do for the other people, right? So I want to kind of break it down into 5 sort of thinking buckets. It's a vast topic, but just to touch a little bit on each one of them. Why authentic relationships matter? Why should we have it? What makes relationships authentic? And how do we rethink that networking that we have been bombarded with ever since even before we start our career? How do we rethink and reprogram ourselves? And then balancing transactional sort of approach with authenticity. It's a real thing that sometimes we need transactional. We have transactional needs. So how do we balance that? And then structural power dynamics, like how do we navigate through, somebody's higher than us, somebody is lower than us in the hierarchical trajectory of our careers, and somebody has more resources, we have less resources, or we have more and others have less. So that kind of structural power dynamics, race, where we live, how we dress up, how it is perceived. So all those structural power dynamics, we are going to touch that a little bit on that as well. First 3, why authentic relationships matter, what is it, and then how do we rethink networking? So we'll tackle that in the next slide. Next slide, please, Katherine. Thank you. So what is authentic relationship different? How is it different from context? So focus in the context is connection. I connected with you, took a selfie, posted, and then forgot all about it. The other person, or they forgot about me. A relationship is where you build upon it. You met, you liked somebody, and it's not you connected with them because of their title or what they can do for you, right? So it's you liked them. So focus is very different. And nature, again, if I go to a networking meeting and I'm making a list of who's going to be useful for me, title wise, like, oh, these 5 people who can give me a job or who can advance my career, I'm going to try meet with them. So think about it. They might also be thinking the same thing, and you might not fall in their line of climbing up the ladder of the career. So that's sort of a nature of the transactional relationship contacts. So when it's two-way, it's you meet somebody, you like them, you want to learn something, and you want to give back. So that is the difference between how it ended up being a transactional or transformational. As a person, as a career, it affects all your life. And also, the title we see today that might not be beneficial to us in our very short-term thinking in a transactional way might be actually different. So let me share an example with you. I was at a higher level, leadership level in an organization, and I met an intern, which was not reporting to me, or it's like in a ladder, maybe 3 steps down. And we formed a relationship. If it was transactional, probably I would say, oh, she's way behind my career ladder, not going to be much of a use. But I know that I built a community with her over last 20 years, and I know that how she's here for me, and I am there for her. We have been each other's references. We have been each other's like job search buddies, referencing or connecting with other people. And I cannot value enough what she brings to my life, person, as well as in my career. So I feel that is different in a transactional and transformational nature of the relationships we build. And how do they exist? These contexts exist in our connections. If we want to network for a job, particular job, we Google on the Google, or we see in our contacts in the network, and they show up, and we have no idea how we met, where we met. They're just connected to us. So we reach out coldly. Hey, we've been connected on LinkedIn. I would like your support, or I would like to meet up for coffee, pick your thoughts, whatever that is. That's valuable, but it's very different value add than a community. It's an active living relationship which we cultivate. We want to know how they're doing. Like, for example, the stressful environment we are in, we would want to check on our community, saying, hey, how are you doing? Or they would check on us, what we are doing. Do we need any help? So those kind of a different way they exist. And opportunities are one-off in the contact form of relationship and in a community form of relationship. It's ongoing. It deepens with time. And then same investment. It's a very, very low trust, low connection investment in context. They can live forever without us doing much. And high trust and shared resilience is the character of the community, authentic relationships that give us community. And reciprocity is one way. So we go one way in the context, right? We look up and we try to make a relationship with them, whereas there's a mutual support and exchange between the authentic relationships. Next slide, please. And then I would just talk a little bit about how do we balance the key elements of a authentic relationship is trust, support, we share vulnerability, we respect each other, our growth is shared. And the competing priorities, I want to just touch a little bit. We go to a meeting. Right now, many of us are looking for jobs. So that's a competing priority on the transactional and authentic relationships. So my advice is to be upfront, right? If I met you today and I need a job, I don't have to say, hey, I liked your this. I could say, hey, I appreciated XYZ, and I would really like your support on ABC. So I would just give you a very quick example. I saw that LinkedIn post by a career networking guru, and he's saying, like, send an email to somebody that you haven't met in last 10 years. Say, hey, I really enjoyed our work. I'm just checking in. How are you? And then 2 days later, the person reached out for a job. So my advice is to reach out, appreciate with them, and be upfront why you're contacting them. And then there are power dynamics, right? The gender. Sometimes as women, we feel hesitant in reaching out to men. White and race issues are there. Ethnicity is there. Number, who is in the group? Is it one community, one type of titles? And we feel small, and some people talked about that in the chat. And all these things play into it. I know I'm running out of time, so I hope that I can have more conversation with you in the chat and go deeper into these. Please feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to have one-on-one conversations with you. Thank you so much. Back to you, Katherine.
Great. Thank you so much, Vineeta. And we're going to go through imposter syndrome now. A couple of you mentioned that in the chat when we were asking about the biggest barriers to networking. Also, for those of us who are joining us midway, there are links to a worksheet that you can go ahead and click on and download and start to fill out a little bit during this session and then finish up afterwards. And so as we're going along, there are different prompts and questions that you can answer in the worksheet, and then we'll want to hear from you in the chat as well. So most of us feel imposter syndrome at some point. What is that? I know for some people, when I talk about imposter syndrome, they say, I've had these feelings, but I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know there was a term for it. So it's actually a term that was originally developed by Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes, and they actually use the term imposter phenomenon that's then come to be known as imposter syndrome. And it's when we feel like a fraud and we doubt our abilities despite others' positive feedback and evidence to the contrary. So our feelings don't match the reality of our true abilities. And there are those feelings like, I don't belong here. And like Vineeta was noting, if we are the only woman in the room, or we're the only person of color at the table, or we're in a setting where we're in the minority and we feel like I don't belong here, I'm not good enough. If we're in a room full of people who have higher degrees than we have, or who are at high level positions that are higher than ours at the time, that can engender this feeling like, everyone else is an expert, they know what they're doing and I don't. What if they find out that I don't really know what I'm doing? Which even people at very high levels can feel that way. So even when you're doing well and you're fully competent and capable, you can still feel like you're just faking it, or you just got lucky. And so we really want to reframe imposter syndrome, because just because we feel like an imposter, it doesn't mean that we're not good enough. It's not real. It means that we're growing and becoming. Let me rephrase that. It's not that it's not real, but it's a disconnect between who we really are and the value we bring and how we feel about that. And the ways that the reasons that we feel that way can have a lot of different root causes. It could be our family systems or families of origin. When we were growing up, we may not have gotten positive messages about ourselves, about our capabilities, about our leadership, about what we're capable of. Or it could be the cultural context that we live in. There are cultural contexts that don't support women leaders, that don't support people of color rising to the highest level of leadership and believing in people's abilities. And that could be due to these systemic factors like systemic sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, other forms of phobia that we can internalize and believe even though they're not true. So we really want to, again, reframe imposter syndrome. There are a couple of thought leaders that we wanted to highlight here, where Adam Grant in his Hidden Potential talks about, I love this reframing, being 100% sure of yourself at all times is actually arrogant and breeds complacency. So he is saying that when we reframe imposter syndrome, we can actually know that when we question ourselves, it can reflect humility and it can propel us towards growth. And whenever we have those pangs of doubt, just realize that that's normal. It's a healthy response to new challenges, and that really almost everyone feels them. And if someone doesn't feel them, it probably means that they're arrogant and they should have some level of humility that they don't. Another person I want to highlight is Elizabeth Leba, who I love her reframing of imposter syndrome, where she's talking about imposter treatment. Is when we know we have the capability and we believe in ourselves, even though others are invested in trying to keep us small and keep us down, and learning to recognize and overcome imposter treatment. So again, she's addressing it more at a systemic level, is a sign that we know our own worth instead of hiding behind someone else's idea of what our potential is. So we just wanted to bring them to you, and you might want to look further into those resources. So we want to talk about some ways to overcome imposter syndrome. So remember, first of all, you're not alone. Really, almost all of us feel it. And again, remember, those who don't are probably arrogant and need a healthy dose of humility. Also, just to try to avoid internalizing it and individualizing it, rather than looking at what are the systemic causes of the feelings that we're having. We can really identify what those feelings are. So self-awareness is important, to say, like, I'm having these thoughts of feeling less than, or I'm having these thoughts that I don't belong. Just recognizing what you're thinking and feeling, recognizing that those are harmful beliefs, and to interrupt those thoughts and replace them with accurate expressions about yourself. I do belong here. I am really capable. I am growing and developing in my professional life. We can also practice imperfectionism. I love this one as a recovering perfectionist, that we can do things at 80% and know that they're good enough. And so I think that practicing of imperfectionism, knowing that good enough is probably better than most people's excellent, and move forward with the draft. We can also seek others' assessments and objective measures of your performance. So when I engage in leadership coaching and development, I'm going to recommend a 360 evaluation, where you get feedback from people who are at higher levels, your peers and your direct reports, sometimes outside colleagues, to give you open, honest, confidential feedback that can then really provide affirmation about how good of a job you're actually doing, as well as some areas for growth. But almost always the feedback people get is more positive than the ways that they experience and they feel about themselves. And you can, of course, seek out the support from a coach or other professional. So we'd love to hear from you in the chat. What are some of your preferred ways to overcome imposter syndrome? So let us know that. What are some ways that you work to overcome imposter syndrome? All right, so we're going to talk through a little bit about preparing yourself for authentic networking. So some of you wrote some questions about this in Whova. So first of all, set some clear goals and intentions. Why am I going to this event? You know, what are my interests? Who would I like to meet and why? Go ahead and plan your introduction, and who do you want to meet and why and how. Check in with yourself beforehand and think, how am I feeling in my body? You can practice some self-awareness. I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to bring myself back to my breath and be aware of what I'm thinking and feeling. You can do some things to boost your self-confidence, like saying a statement or a mantra about yourself, a positive statement. You can take the super person stance, where you're standing up with your arms on your side. Just demonstrate quickly standing up and breathing fully into your chest and filling your body with air and really feeling confident. You can plan ahead for what are some triggers, what are some things that might prompt you to feel imposter syndrome, in order to be prepared to replace those negative self-talk with positive talks. You can also take some notes about people you meet, who you want to follow up with. And we love the accountability partnerships. That's a tried and true method for making a plan and following through on it, is to make a plan with someone else to say, after the session, after this conference, let's check in and see how we're doing with our networking. So again, that's something that you can work on in your worksheet. And also would love for you to type in the chat about what techniques work best for you to best prepare for authentic networking. All right, when we talk about setting goals and intentions, there are some questions that you can ask yourself. What space do I want to be in? What kind of connection and relationship do I want to form? What are my goals? How can I love this one. How can I focus on deepening my existing connections in addition to creating new ones? It shouldn't just be about the numbers. It should be about the quality and the value of the connection. Like Vineeta was giving some beautiful examples of relationships that started out as a connection and then formed into a long-lasting or lifelong relationship where people are really supporting each other through their careers and their lives. And then again, really focusing on others. How can I be of benefit to others? How can I offer value? How can I really show that I'm here and I'm interested in other people? And of course, building those relationships in alignment with our passion, our vision, and our values. So we just wanted to quickly touch on professional confidence and presence, that we know that sometimes we can feel a lack of self-confidence, and that's one of our barriers to authentic networking. So just to have faith in your skills and knowledge, again, to engage in positive self-talk. It's good to take some calculated risks. And when we're feeling uncomfortable in a networking setting, that can be a sign to us that we're taking a really positive, healthy risk by going to the conference, by pushing ourselves to talk to people and engage with people. We can celebrate our achievements. So again, check in with your accountability buddy afterwards and give yourselves a reward for having participated, for having made that connection. I'm a big fan of when I, again, coach leaders and work with leadership teams to advise people to create your personal board of directors. So this is a group of people, family, friends, colleagues, that you ask to be in your inner circle who are supporting your professional and leadership growth and development, and form that as your personal board of directors who's going to support you through your growth. So when we think about professional presence, we're thinking about that gravitas, or how we act, our communication, how we talk with others, and our appearance. So think about those elements when you're thinking about your professional presence, your leadership presence. And then, of course, there's how we connect, just some of the technicalities. So, of course, having some digital business cards. I use Hi Hello, which is the example on the right, which is a nice way to connect with people digitally. They get my contact information and see my face with my name together, and then they also enter their contacts so I can follow up with them. Of course, pulling up the LinkedIn QR code, mine is shown on the screen. Happy for you to pull that up and for us to connect. And again, these are good digital ways. Of course, the business card, the hard copy business card is fine, but digital can be an easier way to connect and make sure that we can both update our brand in our LinkedIn and in our digital business card, and we can also stay connected more easily. And then just following up is the most important thing. We need to remember that it's the follow-up that's critical. If we've made all these connections and then we don't follow up to say, hey, it was great to meet you. I loved our conversation about authentic networking. It was so meaningful to me, and I'm already taking action on some of the things that we talked about. You can suggest a collaboration, or would love to learn more about your professional journey. Can we set up a time to talk? Also asking, how can I help you? How can I help your organization? So again, that follow-up is really critical. So now we're going to go over to some breakout room discussions, and we're going to be going into breakout rooms. I'll pass things over to Vineeta to explain.
Thank you, Katherine. And very quickly, so in the breakout discussions, we'll introduce each other, the small group, and then your responses to the following workout questions. One is, what one specific step you will take to overcome your biggest barrier? And you have mentioned a lot of barriers in the chat, and this is fantastic how you are sharing. And the second is one goal you will set up to build and nurture your network. And many of you are attending in person, so you can also make a goal. What are you going to do in person while forum that you're meeting in? And we'll have a few minutes to discuss. Unfortunately, it might be shorter than 10 minutes. And then find a volunteer in your small group to just keep you in time, and also to just make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to participate. So with that, Katherine, let's start the breakout groups.
All right, I have opened the breakout rooms, Catherine. So people should be free to join them. Looks like people are making their way.
All right, looks like folks are joining.
It looks like all the rooms at least have a couple people in them, but
Yeah. And
Everyone, just if you're still with us in the main room, you should have an invitation to a breakout room and invite you to enter the breakout room. Go ahead and click on your join your breakout room so you can talk in small groups, and we've posted the questions in the chat.
and then I just broadcasted the questions to the breakout rooms as well, Catherine.
Wonderful, thank you so much. I'm just looking, yeah, I'm wondering if we want to do any.
just for a while.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. We trust you've had wonderful conversations in your breakout groups. So we do want to encourage everyone to turn your cameras on. We are finding that when our cameras are on and we can see each other's faces and facial expressions, it just really facilitates that networking and that authentic networking. So if those of you have your cameras off, we know sometimes it can be related to connectivity. We'd also love to hear in the chat if you have your camera off and it's not because of connectivity. You know, what are some of the reasons why you might be doing that? And just to, again, really encourage you to put your cameras on, as we really find that that facilitates that connection and that, that authentic networking. So no problem. Chizulu, understand that sometimes there are connectivity issues. I've been in many different countries where that's been the case. But we also want to note that if sometimes it's because we're concerned about our background not being appropriate or our appearance, that we still really encourage you to turn your cameras on and make that connection. Yes, so Elizabeth, totally understand. And yeah, thank you also, Devarati, about sometimes we have digital fatigue. I know that can feel challenging. So, all right, thank you for sharing those reasons. But when you're in the Wild Forum online conference and you're in sessions, we do really encourage you whenever possible to turn your cameras on, as that will really facilitate more meaningful connection and networking with other participants. So we now want to hear from you about your action steps that you wrote in the worksheet. We're going to put the link to the worksheet up again. We saw that in Whova, someone was still asking for that worksheet link. So we'll post that again. And so we want to hear from you about your action steps. What do you commit to doing now that you've learned from this session moving forward, both when we meet together in DC come early May and also online? So will you set clear networking goals? Will you take actions to boost your self-confidence and interrupt that negative self-talk with positive self-talk? Do you commit to reaching out to a certain number, maybe 3 new colleagues who you really liked, who you met at the Wild Network Forum by the end of the following week? So go ahead and post in the chat your authentic networking goals so we can really hear from you. What do you plan to apply and how from what we've talked about, what you've learned from this session? We'd love to hear that, and just encourage you to continue to complete your worksheet on your own. We hope that it's a helpful tool for you. At the end of the worksheet, there also are some additional authentic networking resources, some videos, some articles, some guides that you might find helpful. So we're going to be closing out our session, and then you're going to be having an overview, some orientation to the Whova platform that will be really helpful for you for the online portion of the conference. And we're ending with this quote from Brene Brown, who's one of my sheroes and whose work I really admire, and her authenticity and vulnerability. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. So we know that it can feel intimidating, it can feel hard for some of us, but it is about being courageous, to stepping into that fear and knowing that when we really allow ourselves to see and be seen, that that's really the basis of authentic connection. So we thank you all so much. We've really enjoyed being with you here today. Please go ahead and point your cameras, your phone cameras, to Vineeta's and my LinkedIn codes. We'd love to connect with you. Feel free to reach out to us if either one of us can be of service to you. Over to you, Vineeta, to say a farewell.
Yeah, thank you so much. As Kathleen said, please feel free to connect with us, and happy to have chats with you all. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. And now over to the Wild Network staff to run you through some Whova platform.
Please stay
tips.
on while we run through. My colleague Lauren will be on in a moment. She's just joining now. So if you have the time to stay, please stay so that we can show some of our Whova platform tools, and so that you guys are all able to make the best use of all the new skills that you've just learned from Katherine and Vineeta in order to network online.
As soon as you're ready, Annalisa, I'll stop sharing. I'll just keep the screen up until you all need to take over. Thank you all so much for sharing your commitments. I love reading them.
Annalise, I think you can go ahead and share the Whova site. We can just get started on talking about the Mentor Match platform, and I can lead off with that.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Thank you so much to our speakers, Katherine and Vineeta. We really appreciate all the practical tips that you shared with us about mentorship mindset and skill set. And looking forward to having all of our conference participants make use of those at the upcoming Wild forums, but really in all parts of their professional lives. Okay, so we're now transitioning to having Wild show you the Whova platform here. And this will be familiar to all of you. And I want to show you some of the places that you can start networking now. So Annalisa, if you could please click on community over there on the left side. So here, there is a number of pre-populated topics that you can go in and join in on conversations already happening. So Annalisa, let's check out Leadership Growth Check-in up there on the right. All right, so here's the people with their names and what they're doing around skills they're building this year. And this topic was started by a conference participant. So you can jump into this conversation if you like something that someone wrote, if you feel like you want to connect with them more deeply. Let's say Cherry Moreno, for example. If you're like, oh yeah, I like what Cherry wrote, you can type a message here building off of that. And you might also choose to go over to attendees and learn more about Cherry. So if you could pop over to attendees and let's go learn more about Cherry.
How did you spell it?
Cherry.
There you go.
Fantastic. So so here you can also send a one-to-one message to Cherry by saying hi there at the top. You could also scroll down and check out her LinkedIn profile if she's put it there. Oh, she doesn't have her LinkedIn profile there, but if you want to find her on LinkedIn, you could just go and type Cherry Moreno into LinkedIn, based in the Philippines, and she'll pop up. And then if you want to attract people to you around a topic that you're interested in or a question that you're interested in, then back over there on the community board, you can start a discussion thread of your own. So you click on add new topic and, go ahead, start the conversation, like invite people into a community of people that you're seeking to build. And that could be geographic. So right now, for example, we have some of our colleagues from Kenya who have said, hey, if you're also based in Kenya, drop your name in here. So they're building a community of people based on geography. Many different ways to build community here. Break the ice. That's very active. We can see 30. If you can click over there on Lisa, we can see 33 new people have already made introductions over there. And you can add
I
an
love the
icebreaker.
break the ice.
And you can add an icebreaker of your own.
Yep.
The last thing I want to show you in our final minute is under attendees. You've had communication from Wild about the Mentor Match platform, and it's really a self-serve Mentor Match platform. So here, Annalisa clicked on attendees. She's now going to click on categories and click on mentors. So 169 people have said, yes, I'd be happy to offer a one-time 30-minute mentoring session to another conference participant. So Annalisa, please scroll down. And here you can scroll through the profiles of the 169 people who've said, if you reach out to me for a one-time mentoring session, I'm going to say yes. So that is an opportunity not to be missed. And if you want to put yourself forward as a mentor, and we hope you do, but you haven't yet done that, we're going to drop a recording. There's a recording that you can check out on the homepage for how to do that. So Annalisa, if you could just pop over to home to show everybody where that recording is posted. There we go. So over there on the homepage, there's a short video for you to watch for more details on how to find a mentor through the self-serve Mentor Match platform or how to put yourself forward as a mentor. So once again, I would like to say thank you. It was wonderful to be in this global community with all of you, talking about networking and relationship building. And thank you again to Vineeta and Katherine for offering us such a practical session. So we're going to sign off here.